Gen Z in this day and age seems to be doomed. I don't think Gen Z is necessarily lazy, but I do think that we're distracted. And being a person that comes from the early 2000s, I can see this on several different accounts and several people that I know that run into these same problems. And honestly, I think we're being set up to fail. We grew up with phones, constant content, endless entertainment. Some of the best shows and technology started coming out when we were growing up. A lot of things changed super fast, and they're just rapidly outpacing themselves more and more as we grow. And for some reason, it feels normal now. But it's exactly that that's doing more damage than people realize. And this is where things get serious. We've never had this level of distraction before. We grew up in a time where not everybody was growing up with iPad kids and constant gratification like TikTok doom scrolling or shorts for Instagram or YouTube. A lot of us grew up normal childhoods and slowly turned into the iPad children that we are now as grown adults. You know, we sit down and we think we're going to do something productive, and then 10 seconds later, you're scrolling again, just wasting away, getting that constant dopamine hit. And it's not because you're lazy, but it's because you're designed and it's designed to be that way. And dopamine habits are terrible, but also great at the same time. Everything we use is to keep our attention. Short videos for that instant gratification and constantly stimulating our brains. And it's turning us into a freaking mush at this point. Over time, it makes real progress feel slow and even boring. At the same time, everything is getting more expensive. So we're constantly trying to work towards something, but we're just slowing ourselves down with third party sources that are creating a complete distraction away from the things that we need to focus on, like building wealth and building habits that are necessarily good for us. And people fall behind with this. That's a terrible combination. It's not that we don't want better, it's that we're constantly pulled away from it. And I've dealt with this too. Scrolling and endlessly instead of working, putting things off to get that dopamine hit, and wasting time that I can't get back constantly. And it adds up. I've spent years of my life doing things that weren't any good for me, and I'm slowly starting to realize all these things and trying my best to fix those habits and fix those problems so that I can actually make a better future. And nothing changes unless I change what I do every day. That's where discipline comes in, like I talked about in one of my last videos. It's not motivation that I'm looking for. I don't care to feel ready when I'm doing something. I just need to go out and do it. Something consistently, like YouTube, like working out, like quitting weed. Then that is where the real change comes in. That's what I'm working on. My habits, money, everything that I can. And honestly, how much time have you spent every day just scrolling on like TikTok? I swear, sometimes I check my time on screen and it seems like I'm just some sort of bot at this point. The dead internet theory is taking control of my brain, and I'm just endlessly on some brain rotted content that doesn't help me at all. And I'm constantly just watching those Subway Surfer edits talking about some fake AI voiceover on some sharks or something that I've already known or read a tiny book about when I was like a kid. You know, the ones from your library that you thought were super cool instead of reading something like, I don't know, Captain Underpants. Those books were fire too. No hate, but shark, whatever. You get the point. Gen Z isn't necessarily doomed, but we are distracted. And if we don't fix that, nothing else really matters. And I'm working at getting better at this myself. I've slowly turned away from being able to watch too much TikTok. I was watching it the other night, sending my friends countless videos, one after another, and I could probably go back and count exactly how many it was, but I guarantee it was upwards to the high 20s, maybe even 30 plus videos in the span of maybe like an hour, if even that. That's almost 2 minutes of my time that I just spend on each video. That is just a complete waste. I don't remember a single one of these videos. but I know for a fact they did not make me smarter or more productive. And this is something that a lot of people take for granted. You used to be able to go out and learn a new skill every single day whenever we didn't have things like TikTok, or learning something that entertained you in a way that was productive so that you could actually use it for everyday use or for your lifetime. And we don't have that anymore in today's age. A lot of people are learning small feats and small tasks to do the easiest and simplest route through things like TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. And a lot of it's turning worse and worse, and it almost seems degrading that we're letting AI take control of these things. There's no creativity in the world at this point. Everything seems to be a copy and paste from some sort of AI agent. Like, I saw a video of one of the guys that I love to watch, Paulie Walnuts, and he mentioned something about how people could plug in an outfit and go about and see what it will put for their outfit to be, and they could literally put that on and it could be the most dookie butt outfit that you could imagine. But people fall into this sort of thing. It's almost like a medium for people, that it's just the most mild thing that you could fall on behind, and it doesn't give out super creative advice or super creative activity. It's just like the social norm. It just takes a ton of information from what's averaged out, and it provides exactly that, just average. We have thousands of years of experience as humans, and we need to all be able to come and go with our own creative values and come out with the best of the best constantly. And a lot of people are falling back on that idea that you don't have to be great, you don't have to be perfect. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to be, but I am saying that there needs to be some sort of, authenticity to it. Not everybody needs to be falling on AI for all their answers or having a conversation with it as if it's their real friend. That just seems so lonely in this time. And not to get off the topic of what Gen Z's problems are, it's not necessarily just AI alone, but it's that constant dopamine hit that we're all looking for. It's almost worse than nicotine, I would say. At least with that, I could quit. With weed, I could stop. But dopamine, when it comes to content or short form of it, it's almost instant gratification that's ruining us. We'd rather do something like scroll on TikTok than come up with a creative medium like making a YouTube video that's of value, or creating a discipline that makes us better mentally or physically or even spiritually at this point. I'm a firm believer in God, and I've gotten closer to God from making videos like for YouTube or learning about myself on several different ways, or even people that like to meditate and try to find themselves through that. It's such a better way to spend your time and spend your mental capacity on than, oh, hey Grok, what's the common denominator of 32 sharks and a platypus? I don't know. But sometimes it just seems so unreal that we have this to our availability, a certain platform or a certain agent or bot that can literally answer whatever question you have by doing your research for you. It's like cheating on a test at this point. And a lot of people use this sort of thing to do exactly that. The creative virtue that we've, as a species, have created for ourselves is almost imploding on itself. We need to be able to revert the time and go back to being able to make our own creative thoughts so that we can actually be forwarding, advancing humans on this planet. Society's set up to fail so many people. But that's not necessarily what this video is about. It's about our generation, Gen Z, the early 2000s kids who grew up becoming the iPad adults that we are now. A lot of us are spending our time not wise and unwillingly spending it on things that rot our brains, to a point that we seem to get dumber and dumber as the entire world is advancing right before our eyes. We used to have people, and I'm not saying that we don't anymore, but that would go out of their way and spend their whole lives doing research on fixing real world issues, like engineering things that are more powerful than the human brain can conceptualize, AI, or even just building things like new products that completely change the world. A lot of people comment back on things like how Steve Jobs came out and created the iPhone. And we wouldn't have a whole bunch of things that if that didn't happen. We wouldn't have probably podcasts, YouTube videos. Hell, we might not even have TikTok if this didn't occur. But we would have some sort of other version of it that probably wouldn't be as great or as powerful in the current world that we live in today. And these are things that have evolved to add these entertainment values for us to be able to easily access, and also been kind of the double edged sword that have led us into the position we're at now. Even if we try our best to be able to change the way that things are, we'll never be able to. It's almost out of our control at this point. The only thing you can control is yourself. And that's why I'm kind of contacting myself with everything that I do and making sure that, is this the best thing for me at this point in time, or am I just letting my brain turn into the pudding that is accepted or socially gratified by constantly scrolling or just mindlessly going about my day? We only get to live one time, and we need to take that to at least some extent of seriousness, because if everything's just a waste and everything's going to be a joke, then you might as well just become that brain pudding that's going on and stirring up there and have no creative volume to the world. But it's not about the person that you are. We're all going to be forgotten throughout this existence of life that we all get to live. It's the things that you leave behind. And I'd like myself to leave behind things that people can create or have value from, rather than just remember to forget and then never think about again. It reminds me a lot of this quote that I think about. It is something along the lines of, they say you die twice, and then one time it's when you stop breathing, and the second time, a bit later on, is when someone last mentions your name or mentions your work. And that's not something that we need to just take lightly. It's something we need to actually take account of. If you're capable of leaving something behind in this world that is of value for future people that are going to exist, whether it be your kids, grandchildren, or just some stranger, that's value to the world that can't be taken away. And I really hope that Gen Z can be known for things that are successors to this world, like people that have been in our past, such as Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, and created something so vast and beyond our capabilities of thinking just on a normal day to day to affecting exactly that. And, providing building blocks for the future for more people that can find ways to improve this life that we all get to live. And I don't mean to be all doom and gloom on this. Of course, there are great things that Gen Z is already starting to create out of the world, out of being, social media stars that have led completely different generations into the right direction, as well as educators and engineers and doctors all over the world. And if you have some sort of decent understanding of what I've come to talk about in this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, and maybe let me know what you think about our generation or the generations before or even ahead of us that might be changing the world and creating something new for us to live with.